Hello and welcome. I'm joined by Dinesh Malkani, the head of Cisco in India, and we're going to talk about what Cisco is up to across a bunch of things, from routers and Internet of Things to cybersecurity. Dinesh, thank you very much for joining us today. So, I mean, for many years, Cisco has been thought of as a router company, but obviously it's much more than that. And you're also making some, as a company, making some very, very big predictions on Internet of Things. And I remember even 2 years ago, the prediction was that the Internet of Things could become, a market that could go into trillions of dollars. It was not just billions of dollars. So tell us about what's been happening in the last year or so in India, and what are the things that you see happening in the year ahead in this space?
So I think it all comes down to how companies want to digitize, right? And if you look at a manufacturing plant, they start looking at factory automation, they start looking at how the plant's going to get fully automated. And IoT, or Internet of Things, has a huge role to play. It's not one technology, it's just the entire thing around people, around process, around things, and how they all interconnect together. Our focus has largely been on taking IoT into specific verticals, financial services, manufacturing, e-commerce, etc. And in every one of these areas, the focus is, again, what's the business outcome? How do we tie that back to what kind of technology architecture can be used? And when you marry the two, you get something we call an economic value add. The predictions have been around what is the economic value add that's going to come out of deploying IoT technologies, right? So I think it's really a end-to-end combination of these things. And in India in particular, if you see what is happening today, there's this healthy paranoia which is creeping in, right? Customers want to start making decisions around digitization, but they want to make it much faster than they have been. Otherwise, they know either they'll get disrupted or they'll miss out on the opportunity. And even the consumers are getting smarter, right? So they want to transact digitally with a bank or with the government. So IoT has a huge role to play. We've invested significantly in this area. We believe that the real power of it is when not just a company like Cisco, but you combine the entire startup ecosystem that's doing a lot of work in that area. You look at other large Indian companies. We've set up innovation centers focused around IoT. We have centers around IoT for agriculture, or IoT for manufacturing, IoT for the fintech world. So I would say still maintain the figures that we shared with you, very important for companies today. And I think being called out as one of the strategic initiatives that most companies are driving.
Right. So let me pick on finance and agriculture, right? So can you tell us how, I mean, to someone who perhaps may not have a clear understanding, Internet of Things or sensors or the whole network plays a role or will play a role in the kind of work that you're going to do?
So I'll give you an example, a real life example. I went to Coorg in southern part of India, and I went to a coffee plantation, somebody I know, and I said, what challenges do you have? He said, oh, the soil quality, we need to measure, what's the value of that soil quality. And so he said, today what we do is we send that soil, we send it to a lab. The lab has 3 scientists, and there are a lot of coffee plantations here. And so the lab measures the pH value of the soil and then tells us, but that process takes a month. And he was asking me, he said, a technology company, do you have solutions that can cut that back? See, that's the problem IoT answers, right? Because if that same coffee plantation had sensors, had a network, had applications from the cloud, on his mobile phone, almost instantly he could be seeing what's the pH value of the soil in this area versus the other, what are the changes they need to make. Moisture, we partnered with a company called Kisan Raja, who actually got an award over the weekend. That was very cool. And when the moisture level goes down in a particular land area, the pumps get automated and water flows. Now just think about that. Today, they put water in, irrespective of whether that land area needs water or not, and what's the biggest scarce resource in agriculture? It's water. And so if you automated some of that, so a great example is of that. You look at smart cities, right, and waste management. Wouldn't it be great that if a dustbin overflows, you get a message saying that dustbin has overflowed, the next 10 are all okay, and having to send in people to clear it out rather than I'll do it once a day or twice a day. But a lot of answers, a lot of solutions can be found with IoT. It's not as if a CEO can just walk into his organization and say, I want IoT. They got to focus on business outcomes. They got to focus on what they really want out of it. And I've given you examples of 2 verticals. I think every vertical, whether it's a mining plant and their big challenge was sending people underground, Today you have devices that go underground, they have sensors, they know exactly how to navigate their way through and be able to provide the data and information that was required. So pretty much across the board, manufacturing seen huge productivity gains around making sure that in the shop floor, right from inventory movement, when you pick a part up, right, there's a sensor, it tells you that that's one less of what you should have had. And then as it moves through the shop floor, it getting completed, I think big productivity drivers there as well.
Right. So you're also talking about cybersecurity a lot, you're working with the government. So are these all part of the same thrust, or are these completely independent?
So cybersecurity or security is a very integral part of companies' digitization strategy today. It's a conversation that's sitting at the boardroom now, because cybersecurity, by the way, is not an individual company problem. It's a global problem, right? So we've done
finance and
no, absolutely.
and
so we've done 4 or 5 things as a company, and so the first is globally, we spent I think $4 or $5 billion in the last couple of years in acquiring companies in the security area to complete our portfolio, right? Our run rate of business today is $2 billion a year just on security solutions. We're the world's largest right now. And in India, what we decided to do was we talked to our customers and said, so what's important for you? The first thing they said was skills. So we set up a cyber range facility in Delhi where a customer or the government can send people. We train them. It's one of the best facilities in the country right now. We train them on live. A cyber attacks happened. We simulated. How do you react to it, right? Or how do you prevent it? So that's one piece around skilling in the country. The second thing we've done is we set up a trust office. India is the 4th country in the world where Cisco has invested into a trust office. It's an office we create with the government. We learn a lot every second. We have data coming out of all the global platforms we have and SOCs. What is happening in the world of security? We share that with the government. We share best practices with the government. So I think that's something unique we've done in the Indian market. And the third thing we've done is we're setting up a security operations center in Pune. So if a customer wants an end-to-end threat defense capability or has a SOC, but would like would kind of like to link back into a SOC where we can feed them constant information, we can be their backup when an attack happens. So we've built full capability just from products to services to training to supporting the initiatives of the government, but all of it has come together, and it's a huge area of investment for Cisco globally, in India as well, and I can tell you it's top of mind for our customers.
Right. So is this, you talked about, let's say, a threat perception service. Is this something that ordinary people can afford, or is this something that's aimed only at, let's say, the big companies? And
no, we scale, we have very small SMB solutions that we provide to our customers, and let me tell you, they also have a security problem, right? And we'll scale all the way up to the largest bank in the country. So I think from a scale point of view, we've always maintained that we want to sell to the smallest business in Assam versus the largest business in Mumbai. We'll scale it up and down.
Right. Let me come back to the IoT part, and you gave some interesting examples. Are you seeing individuals or small companies who face these problems coming up to you or responding to, let's say, the technology solutions to problems that they faced obviously for a long time?
So it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen in key vertical industries, right? I think education is one that is, everybody knows if you have to train 400 million people in the country, you need a different way of doing it. We don't have enough teachers. We kind of struggle with attendance and things like that. So taking IoT and technologies that are related and delivering virtual education, that's one vertical. I think manufacturing, the second one that we're seeing. We did a project with Mahindra & Mahindra in Chakan in Pune, where they had challenges. We were able to create a fully automated IoT-based factory, partnering with a few other companies, 30 to 40% productivity gains coming out of it, right? So clearly key vertical industries where I think the customers are now stepping forward. They have a much better understanding and appreciation of what it can do. The good part about it is you can ideate, you can go to our innovation center, you can rapid prototype, and you can determine whether that strategy will succeed or not. Because in IoT, it's you can imagine what you want, and at the end of the day, there'll be a solution that you could put together. So, basically to us, it was, we provide the products and solutions, but opening the innovation centers around IoT was very critical. We encourage our customers to rapid prototype, see the benefits of it, and then roll it out into their mainstream and scale it up from there.
Right. So a broader economy India question. I mean, you've had a few good years. Do you see that continuing? What's your sense on growth overall? Do you see de-globalization affecting anything?
So I think today's consumer, who is the one who eventually consumes all products and services in the country, wants to consume digitally, right? They want to make sure that there is a way for them to transact using digital technologies. I think that train has left the station. It doesn't matter what happens around the world, that consumer is not going away and that consumer is not changing.
And he wants more experiences to look similar or replicate one another.
No, absolutely. You see, today we may think we have the best ideas on the ground. Next week, if a company comes up with a very disruptive idea, that's the new normal. But in the world of digitization, that's how it works, right? If Uber had a great idea on taxis, that's good, but next week there could be somebody else with something better. So clearly it's a disruptive market. Consumers are smart. They're consuming technology like never before. Our businesses in India want to respond to that. I can tell you that the way they're thinking about digitization today is very different from what it was a couple of years ago. So if I were to look at these and things like trends like rapid urbanization, people moving from rural areas into urban areas, you put all of this together, I think India is well on its way to be, we've called it out, the world's largest digitized economy. And the good news is that at the end of the day, it's not a push, it's a pull that is happening in the market, right? So I feel fairly bullish about the Indian market. The last 3 years have been great for us. But if I were to kind of look at the next 3 years, I think the trend should continue.
Right. Dinesh Malkani, thank you so much for speaking with us.